The updated criteria by the World Health Organization is in light of recent findings that patients whose symptoms have resolved may still test positive for the COVID-19 virus many weeks after. In Guyana, there have been at least 7 cases where persons who tested positive for COVID-19 were housed in isolation more than 50 days while retaining the positive result throughout that period. It was against that backdrop that a new criteria was introduced into the healthcare systems for COVID-19 patients on July 17. The new guidelines stipulate that 10 days after testing positive for COVID-19, patients who no longer exhibit any symptoms in the last 3 days of institutional isolation can be discharged. The Pan American Health Organization World Health Organization country representative, Dr. William Aduko, during a telephone interview with Nightly News on Friday, explained that the period for release of symptomless patients is between 10 to 14 days after testing positive.
For the last 3 days, you've had no symptoms, then you qualify as the asymptomatic persons who are positive who do not transmit the disease, and therefore you should also be released.
Dr. Dukro further divulged that patients who meet the criteria and are discharged are counted as recovered patients.
Okay, recovery means you are no longer a threat to society. And once you are released, it means you are no longer a threat to society.
He noted, however, that the new criteria is optional. Countries can opt to continue with the initial guidelines, which allow for the 14 days incubation period in isolation. Previously, persons who tested positive for COVID-19, regardless of whether or not they experienced any symptoms during isolation, were required to secure negative results of 2 polymerase chain reaction tests, which were administered before discharge was granted. Patients released after 10 days of isolation are contacted for follow-ups by health personnel.
In the case of Guyana, persons who we release as a result of that, the new data really also do not pose any threat at all. And as a result, yes, they are being followed up.
Temika Rodney reporting for the HGP Nightly News.